In a practice room filled with the echo of breathing and the pounding of music, the camera was solely focused on capturing the choreography. There was no secret script, no scene designed to capture attention. But that's precisely where everything felt different. Two figures moved amidst the white light and mirrored reflections, V and Jungkook. They were simply practicing, just repeating steps, just perfecting the count. But in those ordinary moments, there was something the camera couldn't hide. A natural ease, an unsolicited attention, and a bond so tangible it needed no words. The music paused for a moment. Jungkook looked down, catching his breath, still labored. Taehyung stood a few steps behind, staring with an expression that was hard to decipher, a mix of focus and tenderness. There was no dramatic dialogue, just a brief glance. But in that glance, there was a pause longer than any 8 count. A synchronization the choreography instructor hadn't taught him. The rehearsal began again. Their movements were precise, almost identical. When Jungkook turned, Taehyung moved half a second faster, as if he already knew where the next step was headed. Not by rote, but by the habit of reading each other. In the fast-paced world of the stage, the ability to understand a partner before they speak is a luxury not everyone has. There's a small moment when Jungkook smiles faintly after one of his steps slips slightly. Taehyung leans in, not to reprimand, but to deliberately mimic the mistake. A subtle way of saying, "We're the same." The camera captures the short laugh that follows. A laugh that's not feigned, not directed, just the spontaneous reaction of two people who feel safe around each other. In the corner of the room, the other members chat and joke around. But when Taehyung and Jungkook stand side by side again, the distance between them feels different. Not physical, but almost non-existent emotional. They stand like two notes in harmony, not needing to look for each other because they already know where to be. Taehyung is often known for his unique expressions and wandering thoughts. Jungkook, with his intense focus and determination, often seems more focused on technical details. But when they're together, their characters seem to merge. Jungkook becomes a little more relaxed. Taehyung becomes a little more focused. It's as if they balance each other out without ever directly addressing it. There's one scene where the lights dim during the rehearsal and the staff calls for a 5-minute break. Jungkook sits on the floor, leaning his back against the mirror. Taehyung unhesitatingly sits beside him. There's no long conversation, just a comfortable silence. In an industry buzzing with cameras and public expectations, such silence is a rare luxury. Jungkook wipes the sweaty back of his neck. Taehyung, reflexively, reaches for the nearest towel and hands it to him without being asked. It's a small gesture, very small. But that's where the meaning lies. A caring attitude born not of obligation, but of habitual caring. When the choreography reaches its most difficult point, their steps are almost inseparable. If one moves forward, the other adjusts their body angle. If one speeds up the tempo, the other picks up on the change instantly. Such synchronicity doesn't develop overnight. It grows over time, through laughter, through small conflicts, and through thousands of hours spent together. Outside the rehearsal room, their relationship is often evident in simple moments. Jungkook subconsciously turns to look for Taehyung when he hears a joke. Taehyung automatically stands closer when Jungkook speaks. Their body language spoke louder than any statement. Many might see it as a simple friendship. And perhaps it was. But there was a certain quality that made it feel different. A mutual understanding that needed no explanation. They were like 2 pages in the same book, different stories but complementary. As the camera moved closer, small details became clearer. The way Jungkook held back laughter when Taehyung made an off-the-cuff comment. The way Taehyung patted Jungkook's shoulder when practice was getting harder than usual. There was no drama. No overly emotional background music. Just reality captured as it was. On a large stage with BTS, the spotlights were often blinding. But even in the bright lights, their interactions were still visible. One brief glance before a solo. One small nod of support. A secret language that perhaps only the two of them understood. As the schedule gets busier and fatigue sets in, that closeness becomes an anchor. Jungkook once seemed quieter than usual after a long practice. Taehyung didn't ask many questions. He simply sat beside him, sharing space. Sometimes, presence is more meaningful than advice. Other moments show Jungkook unconsciously imitating the way Taehyung stands, or Taehyung following the rhythm of Jungkook's steps as he walks. The synchronization occurs even when they're not performing. It's as if their bodies have become accustomed to moving at the same frequency. This kind of bond isn't about big words or public declarations. It grows through repetition, in grueling practices, on long drives, in late-night jokes. Each experience becomes a fine thread that weaves their closeness ever tighter. There's power in comfort. When two people can be themselves without masks, that's where a relationship finds its most honest form. Taehyung with his colorful world, Jungkook with his burning ambition. Together, they create a space that feels balanced. The camera may only capture a fraction of a second of the entire story, but those seconds are enough to reveal something unconventional: the way they wait for each other, the way they walked side by side without needing to call out to each other. But the story didn't end when the practice room door closed. In the quieter hallways, their steps continued side by side, as if unconsciously choosing the same rhythm. Jungkook matched his pace when Taehyung slowed to greet the staff, and Taehyung waited without being asked when Jungkook paused to check something on his phone. Small things like these were barely audible, but that's precisely where intimacy grew, in spaces not designed for anyone to see. Sometimes, during long recording sessions, exhaustion made the atmosphere more sensitive. The pitch had to be right, the emotion had to be felt, and the pressure could come from all directions. In such moments, Jungkook would often be seen closing his eyes for a moment after finishing his part. Taehyung didn't always say anything, but his presence near the microphone next to him felt like an invisible support. There was a calmness created simply by their being at the same distance. Behind the screen of the large stage, when the countdown began and the crowd's voices echoed, there was a brief second before everything turned into lights and cheers. In that second, their gazes often met. Not a dramatic one, but a reassuring one. We were ready. We're together. Then the music began, and their bodies moved with a confidence born not just of practice, but of mutual trust. Time had shaped them through many seasons, times filled with laughter as well as harder days. Each phase added a new layer to their relationship. Jungkook, once more reserved, now spoke with a different confidence, and Taehyung, once so free-spirited, now displayed a quieter maturity. The changes hadn't happened in isolation, they'd grown in each other's presence, witnessing a process that outsiders might not fully understand. And perhaps, beneath all the practice and the spotlight, that was what was most real. Not theory, not speculation. Just two people who had shared time for so long that their movements had become reflexes. Eventually, the practice room fell silent again. The music turned off. The lights went out one by one. But the lingering impressions remained. Because when two hearts have found the same rhythm, even silence feels in harmony.